and interested in supporting the effort. So thank you. That's the only comment I have, was to introduce myself. But thank you.
Would you put your name, there's a sheet over there, just write your name. Great, thank you.
Do you know?
If you want to comment, or
do you
you're
know if you
together.
I'm with her.
Do you know if you're covered or not by Breeze Line or are on the APB project?
We're not sure.
Where do you live?
We are in Weems, but not Weems proper. It's closer to Kilmarnock on Cox's Farm Road.
Oh, Cox Farm Road.
Very end of Cox's Farm Road.
Oh, you're not yet covered. That's part of RDOF, APB. You've probably seen the Breeze Line trucks going down,
Yep.
but they had to stop at a point because that's as far as the Batty grant was. But we've talked to APB and Breeze Line about, finishing the road, because there are houses, so we're aware of that. So you will get coverage. We're not sure who and when yet, but we will be working on that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Nicholas.
It wouldn't hurt for him to contact Breeze Line to try to place an order anyway.
Yes.
Do you get on the website?
We've both
That's the two
independently
words.
put in requests or registered our interest
Good.
with both Breeze Line and All Points.
All points, good. That's the best thing to do.
You spoke with All Points and Breeze Line, or no, they contacted? No, that was
Hey,
someone else, sorry, no, okay. You spoke with
Don.
All Points.
Okay,
Yes.
one word? Is Cox Farm?
that's good.
one word
If
or
keep,
two words?
stay on that, and you'll find out what the
COX.
decisions are and if they're getting grants.
okay,
It'll
Cox.
show up. Okay.
Anything else that we can or should be doing in terms of?
No, at this point,
What
that's
number are you?
your address.
234 Otter Cove Lane.
Hold on.
Oh, so-
Actually, what's really cool,
Can you spell it now?
No.
We're good there.
Cox Farm, okay, I only got,
They're right here on Otter
Two-
Cove Lane.
234 Otter Cove Lane.
oh,
Right off of, you're right off of,
okay, you're not on Cox,
You're
okay.
right off.
Yeah, so you want to be with APB.
APB.
Otter
Cove Lane.
Cove Lane, and what number?
234. No, that'll be APB.
Okay, 234, yes, I see. Okay, and it's definitely APB, and so you need
They've
to make.
registered already.
You registered already,
Yeah,
okay.
that's good.
And then you got a confirmation?
Yes.
Okay,
Good.
so
And
by they are supposed to be done either December of 2023, or I don't know when the contract goes into, it could be January of 2024, but it's, by then, that's the latest of their project, but it depends on where they are not giving us the information, which end of the county they're starting. It could be the western part, and you have probably seen the Dominion trucks,
Yes.
okay? The Mass Tech and they are going up and down doing the main artery, if you will, of the internet. And then All Points Broadband will be hooking up, but they have not started, to my knowledge, in this county, and will start when 2023 starts. And they'll try and get people on as soon as possible, but to be conservative, we're just saying they're supposed to have everything done by contract by the end of the 2023.
2023.
Okay. May I ask? a
Sure.
question?
Sure.
Come up to the microphone, because those in virtual world can't hear you
Okay,
unless you
sorry,
speak to the
sorry.
microphone.
So,
okay.
related to the Dominion
Peace.
conduit service.
Right.
Dominion has above-ground lines all the way down Cox's Farm Road, and then at Otter Cove Lane, they buried all that wire a couple years back. Does anybody know whether discussions have happened already about how they're going to be getting in the service through the buried lines? Because my understanding is that they did not put conduits in a couple years back for,
They're just direct buried.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we don't get privy of actual
God bless you.
layout, but we do know that y'all have Dominion Power Service, right?
Kevin, I can take a stab at this. Dominion has made its application to the State Corporation Commission for adding the middle mile conduit, which All Points Broadband is going to connect with. That application is going to go on hearing on September 8th, But prior to that, there'll be public hearing, and prior to that, testimony was just filed by the staff at the State Corporation Commission regarding the proposal of Dominion, and staff supported the proposal in total. So that's all a good sign, and it should be on track, and you'll see more action from Dominion related to the Northern Neck project and All Points broadband as a result of that final decision in September.
Okay.
I just want to add to that, in case that may not be, Otter Cove Road may not be middle mile fiber provided by Dominion. In that case, an APB would place their own conduit
Right.
underground
Gotcha.
and
Okay.
to serve whomever's out there. So that if it's underground now, it will remain underground. If it's aerial, probability is it will stay aerial.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Either way, you will be served.
Thank you.
Good news.
All right, Glenn, any questions?
Anybody online?
Anybody? Okay. All right, that closes the public comment period. Michelle, over to you for minutes. Yep.
Yes, I submitted the minutes from the last meeting of July 14th, I believe, and I didn't hear any comments from anyone, so I resubmitted them to you today, and I asked that I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Um,
Okay. Minutes.
Actually, I won't vote.
You don't vote. See. All righty.
And I'm abstaining because I was not at that meeting.
Okay. No, I read the minutes as usual. They were good. I sent you a note. You didn't get my note? Oh, never mind. Anyway, you did a good job as usual with the minutes.
That carrier pigeon doesn't work anymore.
Oh, shut up. We have got some lesser children here. Okay, APB, Betty Ardoff, oh my gosh, this Ardoff stuff.
Nick, take it away.
All right, Nicholas.
Okay, so let me click here. I only have one screen now, so I got to click back and forth. But APB, there's not too much to update on that, except we do have on August 15th would be the Northern Neck Planning District Council meeting, and that'll be our first meeting scheduled, and regarding the APB project.
You're going to that
So-
meeting? I'm sorry, you're going to
Excuse
that
me?
meeting on the 15th?
I'm going to ask for a Zoom invite.
Okay, where is it going to be held? I tried to see if anybody knew where it was going, do you know, Don?
I've got the invite, but I'll go get it.
Oh, you don't have to get it now. I mean,
Well, it's nice, and I think Michelle said she wanted to go.
yeah, because I said I wanted to go also.
What day?
It's on the
15th, Monday.
15th,
That's
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah.
I don't remember the time.
Something that we would attend.
Huh? No, this is
How would you
a
describe-
meeting of all the key
partners.
people of the APB Dominion, and then
The counties.
the counties fundamentally, and then that information will get dissipated through our us essentially.
All right, that's done.
I can attend. Cassie, did you say that you wanted to attend as well?
Yeah, I can't remember
Okay.
the time. Do you remember the time? Well, never mind, Don's getting his invite.
Okay, so we can have, if anyone else has any questions that they want us to ask at the meeting, please submit them.
Yeah,
You don't want to ask my question.
no, we don't.
What the?
What-
The meeting's going to be on Monday, August 15th at 4:30 PM at the new Westmoreland County High School. And Michelle, did Jerry send you an invite?
He
Okay.
did not.
All right, I'll forward this. Is anybody
wanted to
going, you're going to go too?
So, all right, just, how many of us can go without getting us in trouble?
All of you could go. The thing is that if three or more participate in
it's a
any
meeting.
discussion, then it's a meeting. So as long as you all don't participate in discussions, all of you could go if you wanted to. So that's up to you.
yeah. Well, Nicholas can do most of the talking.
Well, I'm not a board member, so.
That's why
Yeah,
you can do
that's
I'm not
talking
included.
and questions. Yeah. Okay, Michelle, we'll talk offline about going.
Kevin, did you want to go?
My teachers come back Monday. There's no, even if I wanted to go, I could do it.
Well, I thought your question that you were inferring that
I
you
was
wanted
just
to
making
go.
sure.
I was
no,
gonna say,
just
Yeah.
making sure we're safe.
Okay.
I think the question that will come up somewhere on here is the hut question and how to go ahead and get just agreement between the county and school board on, to make a decision, negotiate, and
That's a major issue.
get the
Yeah.
hut set up for APB.
I don't think that's to be discussed at this meeting, but maybe it will
Oh, okay,
be.
You know,
yeah,
This is going to be I think it's going to be a high-level overview
okay.
of the project, where the project stands today, where it's going to stand in the near future. I don't think there's going to be, I could be wrong, but I don't think they're going to be chiseling down to any kind of details like that.
Don, are you going? on
Yeah,
Monday?
I'll be there.
Okay, oh, we may have a show for Michelle. We can sit in the back seat. Okay, next one, Breeze Line, Batty update, Nicholas.
Okay, Breeze Line. Well,
I
with
love
Breeze
your-
Line, we have some good news.
Yes.
Along with a couple delays. There was talk in our monthly meeting that Breeze Line may ask for an extension for the overall project for all 4 counties for Batty. And that's based on procurement issues. But they're not going to do that yet. They still think things like pedestals, things like pedestals are starting to come in, drizzle in a little bit. The other one that they're worried about, it doesn't affect Lancaster as much as the other counties, is the electronics, the passive optical network electronics from Calix. Originally, that was pushed out to December, January timeframe. It's being pushed back into November, and they think they might even come in a little bit sooner. So there's no reason to panic. As far as Lancaster, we're kind of ahead of schedule right now in our county. But there are certain delays that everybody, the whole industry, and outside communication industry is going through right now. Dominion is starting to release some pole licensing, so we're starting to see more aerial cable being placed. So that's kind of on the negative side, but we do have a couple of areas that are ready for customers. So the way Breeze Line works is after it's constructed and construction's complete, it goes to their technical operations division, which goes out there and does all the verification. They do testing to make sure that everything's up and running. They actually do international phone calls, local phone calls, long distance phone calls. They want to make sure that everything's up and running before they release it to the market. So we do have 4 areas that are released to market and ready for customer sign up. And that's Dawson Avenue, Tyler Lane, Teal Drive, and Beach Cove Road. So they are ready to go to the marketing division, who's going to go to customer service and start turning up customers. So they'll start sending out direct sales teams, or for door hangers, probably making phone calls that those areas are ready. We do have Little Bay, Clark Point, and Bayport. That's one of their areas, number 8, that they use internally, and that's being released to Tech Ops as today. So if provided there's no issues, hope that will be released ready for customers shortly. There was one that was supposed to be, Cherry Point was supposed to be released to Tech Ops last week. There was an issue with Dominion with some aerial, a couple of spans on poles. Breeze Line chose to go underground that area to avoid it, and they're working on that as we speak. So that will be released. A little bit of a hiccup on that one, but once again, these are coming on ahead of schedule, so they're still meeting the schedule, we're still meeting all the milestones. And there are 2 more areas, Pleasant Banks, Whitestone, Loblolly, Blue Water Farm Lane, or 2 areas, I should say, that are ready and should be ready to go over to Tech Ops. And they're scheduled on around September, mid-September, third week in September. And once again, I think so far what I've seen on the construction side, they've been pretty conservative with their dates, and they've kind of been meeting them or beating them. So, which is good news. So they're trying to manage expectations of, I guess, us, but also at the end of the day, the residents of Lancaster County. Construction activity, the total construction is almost 65% complete. Once again, we are ahead of schedule. So, aerial cable, we're 68% complete. Underground conduits, about 73% complete. And underground fiber, about 40%. And once again, the underground fiber portion, why that's lower, there's a lot more conduit in the ground, but the fiber placement's a little behind because of the pedestal issue. And that's where the conduits come up and the fiber comes up into, and you see those, maybe 6x6 or 8-inch by 8-inch canisters that come up out of the ground. Those are what's being held up in procurement. And so that's kind of holding up the underground portion. And because that's held up, splicing is a little bit behind because unless you have those, you can't complete the splicing. So splicing's at about 25% complete. They're going to bring in another splice crew in to try to clean up. They did get some pedestals in. They're starting to drizzle in a little bit, onesie twosies, and they're trying to finish up some areas wherever it makes sense to just to get them over and released over to Tech Ops so they can start getting customers on board. I mean, they're as anxious as we are to get this project done and have it generating revenue and have customers signed up. So overall, I would say I'm very pleased with BreezeLine's management of this project, implementation of the project, and also their customer service. If there's any issues, if we refer them to BreezeLine, they contact the customer right away, and they've been very responsive that way. So, and we've had very few issues.
Nicholas, those roads you mentioned that should be coming online, well, not coming online, released to Tech Ops at least this month. I want to make sure Michelle gets those so we can get those definitely for the monthly, as we did this last monthly with Dawson, Teal, et cetera.
Yeah, well, I think this morning I sent everybody on the board the address list of the ones that were released and ready for customer service.
The 44 addresses, that was impressive. I counted them. There were 44 addresses on that list.
Yeah, so that's, so we're moving, and that's only going to, obviously it's going to increase, but I think it's going to increase, at a higher rate.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good.
Nicholas, I noticed you did mention Beach Cove Road, and my question is, I take it it's resolved now with the whole sewer
No, that's an issue we have, and I think it's somebody probably saw in the marina, Beach Cove Road is being built on the public rights of way. In the marina itself, they have no knowledge of where their sewer lines are, and BreezeLine is reluctant to go in there and do any work because it's near the water and it's also a force main sewer. So they obviously don't want to have a rupture of sewer pipe. And it's not right next to the water anywhere, but especially next to the water. It's not, this utility does not do locates on private property, so it's owned by the marina, so they have to locate it. Bill Newberg from BreezeLine is working on his end. I asked Gary if he knew anybody, and Bill Lee is, I think, Bill Lee is working it on the marina end. So we're kind of trying to get this resolved because it is it's one of the things it's lingering out there, and we have they once again they want to get it done, but they don't want to go in there. I don't blame them to go in there and cut a force main sewer anywhere, especially next to the water. Yeah. And it's too much of a project to hand dig. So sometimes in that situation, if you're crossing an area where it might be one line, you hand dig it and you expose it, and then you go from there. This is right next to the buildings, and it's the whole project is encumbered by this sewer line.
Yeah, that's the condos way out on Windmill Point for people. And it's Mark Lee who we encourage to work.
Mark Lee, I'm sorry.
And I didn't realize that they had their own sewer network for the marina and all those condos. They have their own sewer system, I guess. Is it, and the tanks are along that road as you go out there. If you've ever been out there, there's some aqua tanks. And I didn't realize that was a sewer system, but evidently it is.
We don't know?
We don't know.
I'm asking.
There's some old surveys that Bay Design Group did. That's the first thing that came to my mind when you all started talking about this. I'll have to take a look at those. They may actually have location of it on it. I'll take a look at those.
In talking to Mark Lee, they were going to go ahead and pay someone to come out there and locate the things. I
Yeah.
think that, at the end of the day,
They need
I
that.
agree with Nicholas. You're never gonna drill in an area and take the risk of running a
Right.
sewer line, particularly when you're right at the Chesapeake Bay.
Well, that whole road,
I like the bay,
well, that-
clean.
like, that whole road runs right along the, like,
Yeah.
that whole, yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. So they definitely need it well marked. Where
Future
it-
plans for anything, they need it
Yeah.
more.
Nick, I have a technical question. All the aerial spooling they were doing, are they gonna leave it aerial like that, the spools? Or is that just spots where they're putting equipment in? Do you know?
Whereas, when you say spools, Kevin,
Like, you know how you?
big coils, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so where the coils are is where they're gonna splice equipment into or fiber that goes into the home.
All right,
So what they do is they actually, you'll see them on the poles, if you drive by, they call them snowshoes. And it's, if you look on the pole, it's like a
Yeah,
giant
it's-
snowshoe but 20 feet apart. And that keeps they'll wrap the fiber around that and it keeps it nice and neat, so it's really not visible.
right.
And it also makes sure that the bend radius isn't too small to attenuate the signal going through the fiber.
Yeah.
So right now, during the construction phase, they typically just leave them in coils next, wherever they are. And then the splicers come in, do what they have to do, then they button everything up and put it up in the air.
Yeah, that, because I got me wondering, because I'm like, well, you got to spool every so often, but they were like every 5 telephone poles. I was like, what's going on?
Well, wherever there's a customer, they typically go within every like 3 or 4 spans. And then sometimes you'll see like a coil of, 5,000 feet. And what they're doing is because they want to minimize the amount of splices.
Right.
So they'll pull like 20,000 foot, but to do that, they have to, figure eight it and then pull from there. So they pull a certain distance, coil up 15,000, they pull 5,000 feet, coil up 15,000 feet, then go from there down the road.
Is that coil that's out across the street from the elementary school, from the primary school?
No, when you're going home, watch the telephone poles. You'll see these, they call it all rod, 2 strapped, and there's a big black coil of wire.
Or up there, because there's a big one that's on the ground across from the primary, so
Well,
this would,
they're also working down there.
yeah, I saw that on my way in today.
But if you looked in the last week, there's had to been at least 10 different trucks all up and down Route 3.
Like the
gosh,
whole
yes.
hospital road, like I know for a fact fiber's been laid all the way down that road. Because I've been watching, 'cause we're over there now, and I've been watching them every morning coming in.
Yeah.
It's-
So this is the Dominion part of
Yeah.
the APB project. And that's what we thought. They'd be done by the end of 2022 for Dominion, maybe
Oh,
run.
for APB.
No.
Dominion.
Dominion's portion
Of the APB.
of the
Of
APB
APB,
project, okay, which is
Gotcha.
approximately 110 miles in our county.
Gotcha.
It's 122 miles, and they commit in their most recent filing of yesterday to have the majority of the project completed by the end of 2022.
Right. Yeah, that's what
That's
they had,
good.
that's roughly what they had, and they probably have added more miles.
They did add more miles because of the increase for APB, the grant money from that.
Okay.
That's good news. Okay, update on BTS, any updates?
Which one?
Good and bad. So the fixed wireless project, they've added some more customers since last month. And they're up to a total of 252 customers on the fixed wireless project, which is good. That's the good news. Not so good news on the smart poles. Gary went out last week by himself. We had a meeting. They said most of them, they were all working. Gary went out, found out they weren't working. If they were working, they weren't working well. Gary last Friday went out with Jeff together and just to nail this down so we're not talking past each other. And I think Jeff has agreed that there are some issues out there. 3 of them, Thomas Landon, Coratonum, and Nutsville, they have a signal, but the service isn't acceptable. And it seems to be a tree trimming issue that's blocking some of the signal. the point-to-point signals. So we're gonna look at what needs, if there's any trimming that can be done to clear that up so we can get better signal. The downtown smart pole was hit by a lightning strike. That needs to be, some equipment needs to be replaced. Gary had a great idea where we had this one smart pole at the Baptist church, which we're not really using the poles, equipment inside of that because BTS put a Wi-Fi on the building. And so we might be able to use some of that equipment that's not being used at that pole and use that in the downtown smart pole.
Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, and that's correct. The two that are really bad, the one, Cortoman Baptist Church, that's, Beulah, Nicholas is talking about Beulah Baptist Church.
Beulah Baptist, yeah.
The Cortoman Baptist Church is, I don't understand it, but it's roughly 1 down and about 4.5 up. So the up speeds are good. What's going on with the down low? Anyway, and it's right across, because they serve the substation, the Northern Neck Electric Co-op substation, and they get readings fine, and that's where they're taking the signal over there. There's really no trees in between the two. So I said, okay, tell me what branch you want one off. But anyway, to be fair, the 2 areas which I personally like, and it's also nice, it's government owned. One is Thomas Landing, where we're going to be building a fishing dock on there. I don't know when all that will occur. But it's also in a relatively low income area of Lancaster. And yeah, it's near Doggett, yeah. They just, since the AT&T SIM card failed, they have not really been able to get a great signal there. So I said, tell me the path, we can cut down a few trees, and Don has agreed to that when I've talked to him. And I just can't, Jeff says he will get us that information next week. I'll be in Sweden, so I'll let you guys check up on that. So that's one. The other one, also in a relatively poor neighborhood called Nutsville Recycling area. Again, we've had good signal there at times, and today he just can't get the signal there as we switched to the wireless. He's having problems there. So the thought, again, I told him, which direction do we need to clear out? Because there's a lot of trees that we can take down and, you know, in a specific direction, not every tree.
Well, they just logged all that property in front of that, right?
No.
Towards the road?
No.
Or has that been a couple of years?
That was a long time, yeah, it was several years ago. But not to my.
But their signal's coming from that direction.
Yeah, that's, anyway, he's supposed to get back to me on that. The other one that is no longer a problem, yay, is the VQL or the Y. Jeff fessed up and said, yes, there is a PoE issue, which means in other words, I was sitting there with my phone, I could read a signal, but you couldn't log on to the network. So that's been resolved. The Y is back to what I was consistently getting, which was roughly 14 or 15 down and roughly 3 or 4 up. So, I mean, it's a strong pull, and it's in a good spot because at VQL you have the clinic, you have the rehab, and you have the Y right there. So if we got the one at Beulah, it doesn't affect really the pole and the service there. We then have Nutsville and the Thomas Landing, and if those can't be resolved by cutting down trees or whatever we need to do, we should be thinking of alternative sites. Sherry brought up a good point of going back and how about visiting the Commons or that area in the Irvington area. However, what we need to do, we got chased out of Irvington when we initially, Mark and I, we need to make sure we go through the township first, as opposed to just trying to find a government site and then going from there. But that's an alternative thing. We also looked at putting in downtown Kilmarnock the parking lot that's right next to the Masonic Temple I don't know if you're familiar or know that there's even a parking lot down there, but it's right at the start of Steptoe as you go. And that could be another site. And again, excellent position because he has some of his equipment up on that water tower that you see in Kilmarnock. So those are two alternatives. Anybody else wanting to put up? The ideal thing is to have a government site that's owned by it. Some of the issues with some of the churches, they want full control. And I thought fire departments were part of the county, but they're not, because we had thought about the Whitestone Fire Department, and also make sure there's some parking. We're looking for maybe 3 to 5 parking sites that could be used or dedicated to a
They're
pole.
not part of the county?
They're volunteer.
They're volunteer.
Yeah, so-
All 3 fire departments are volunteer. They're privately owned, property's privately
Pro-
owned.
Yeah.
The volunteers, literally, to raise the money and all of it, yeah.
Yeah, which is why, never mind.
So,
Okay.
all right, I'm gonna ask a dumb question just because, I mean, the biggest parking lot literally in the county is Walmart. We're not allowed to approach them and ask, hey, can we use
Well,
your?
the thing is, they rent. They don't own that. So I think it's worth asking them.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
who
mean, do you
the,
see that being bad for us?
No, I mean, it's worth asking.
if you see, when people go into Walmart, they've got their phones, they've got shopping lists.
Well, it's not even
whatever,
that, the
so
whole
it's to their
garden,
advantage.
like the whole garden side, I'd never see them better than that side of the parking lot. They're all grocery side.
Yeah.
So,
Well, then it's up, if Walmart would agree, they can just go to whoever owns that property and say, we'd like to.
and he should be able to feed Walmart, right? I mean, he's
I
on the
would think
water
so.
tower.
Yeah.
Cause that, all right, so the one down at Thomas Landing, that's either being fed by the substation or,
I think it's-
what's his name had
He
something.
told me he's going across to Kilmer Point and then shooting it back.
But at one time, who's the farmer that lives right there, Payne Shop Road? Instead of going Payne, you go straight. Those silos that used to sit over on the right, who is that? Is that Franklin?
On the right at Payne Shop.
No, like you turn like you're gonna go to Payne, go down Payne Shop Road, coming from this way, and that road that goes straight, what is that called?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. That's Dorsey Ficklin's farm.
I swore they had equipment on Dorsey's grain, because he got 2 grain tanks that's off to the right, I think. So that's straight through the woods, right, to Greenville, and then you're,
But it's a lot of woods.
yeah, I don't disagree, but I'm just trying to figure out where he's being fed at.
I thought he was coming from across the river,
He's
Middlesex.
coming from, yeah, exactly. He's bouncing it. There's one pole right at the entry to Greenvale Creek.
Right,
Okay. He's trying to get it to there, so I don't know if the trees, but he is also talking about putting a pole at Greenvale Marina, which then would be a straight shot over.
so where does that pole physically sit at the boat landing?
I'd have to go.
Is it closer to the dock, or is it back up towards the parking lot?
It's in the parking lot.
It's in the parking lot.
Because that's straight trees in front of it, that's straight trees to that side.
That's why I'm saying, if we cut down a certain number of trees, wherever the path, we're trying to find the exact path of the signal. And if we can open up,
But does not Doggett Industries get,
not from him, they get it from VBB.
because they got a huge pole right there on the
Yeah,
back.
yeah, VBB is up on there.
That's Walmart's.
Another alternative would be if we get, APB or Breeze Line as they build out those areas, they can provide service to those poles. So instead of having a fixed wireless, providing the IP connectivity, they could just we could maybe have them do it with a hard line and provide the service.
Yeah, that's a longer term, but I agree with you, Nicholas, that's probably the best solution,
But ABB's already right there on the main drag.
if they would hook up to the pole. You got to get them to agree for doing the Wi-Fi portion.
Okay. The county broadband coverage update.
My suggestion is to put up just the project one, which, do you have that up, Glenn? Glenn made a few more tweaks, but what we did, we took off everything, we were trying to do too much with the data we had. So what we are now doing, this is the map I looked you guys up on. Okay, not yet. But what I want to do is have this up there, and then the Virginia State has one where eventually it should also have all of our project data, but they don't have it. So this is, the green represents the APB and Dominion project. Okay, so that's handling most of the northern and western part of the county. Yellow is the current VATI project that's undergoing that we were talking about early. That's with Breeze Line. Red is what we missed due to RDOF miscommunications, et cetera, okay? And and this is what I asked Nicholas a little bit earlier, is Breeze Line considering introducing I guess it would be VATI 23 proposal on there. And you can see, yes, most of these red points are really where Breeze Line is anyway. And they may have to do some Herculean type of tasks. And I point you to that one little spot along the eastern Caratoman where you see green on one side, yellow on the other. It looks easy, but there's a big creek on either side of that house.
Yeah.
And it's a swamp. And so the hard part is getting it in. We believe that the electrical is closer to the green, to the yellow point that's there. So that may be the best way to get to that red spot, okay? But most of the other ones you can see are pretty much in areas that Breeze Line is already at.
They can get another grant that way.
And that's 84 homes. Now, we also have new homes that were built, what was it, 87 this year, Glenn, from June to June? In that ballpark. And then, so those are going to be passed mostly by either company. So that's why it's important to go ahead and send a notice to, we have been told APB Fiber. Glenn and I had problem with that website with malware sites showing that it was having some attacks.
Yeah.
But you can go to the original website, which Glenn has, which we can post.
Yeah, but post that.
Okay. I'm sorry? I can't understand you, Nicholas.
Yeah.
You know, Gary, I think we got to be careful with going back and forth on this website for APB, because APB contacted me directly and said, put up on the website apbfiber.com instead of the All Points Broadband, which we were using. And I did that. And yesterday, when I was on the site, or the day before, responding to emails from citizens, I checked the APB site several times to see if locations that were referenced would show up on the APB mapping system. That APB fiber link worked fine for me. There wasn't any kind of malware feedback issue. So if somebody's having problems with the new site that APB gave us, I think we need to go back and check with them before we change anything on our website again, because
Okay.
that's just too confusing for people trying to do
And
this.
I agree with you. It's just something that we noticed. Malwarebytes is just a program that sniffs out issues, and we're getting that response. That's what I'm referring to, Sherry. But anyway, I agree with you. So basically, I can send an email to APB and let them know to hopefully clean up their website.
Check their website, yes.
Yeah, well, that's, yeah, exactly.
It could be simply how their database is requesting.
The data too. It could be, exactly, but I'm just telling you,
Let them fix it.
let them fix it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what this is good for. There is a Virginia I gave you guys the address before from the Commonwealth. You can search either under the SCC mapping. I suggest using the Virginia at 95% because it becomes very granular and you can type in your address. But this is only going to cut, right now, they don't have these 2 projects entered. So, and they had impressed upon me when they had the big phone call to roll this out, and that was at least a month or 2 ago, that it was going to be days. And what I'm hearing now from Hinson is it's October. So they want it for the response to the VATI. So that's what they're working
Working
for.
on, yeah.
Okay. So it's going to be a while before that site is good. That's why I'm suggesting putting this up and then also having that state one that's also up. It's not perfect, and but I think.
Yeah, I think we could put both of those up with a qualifier for anyone who's going the website and looking at these maps, that these maps are only going to get better and improve probably between now and the end of the year, because all broadband providers must submit where they have services by September 1 in 2 different reports.
Yeah.
And then the FCC will analyze that data along with the other participants such as Virginia Tech and DHCD and everybody else that's committed to ensuring that we have an accurate count of unserved areas. So by the end of this year, we anticipate that it'll be much better than anything we have available right now. And that will also inform the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund 2.
We knew more than they did from the get.
So people, if they could just be patient, there's a lot of movement right now, there's a lot of construction, but the information that we have today is going to be better tomorrow. And when I say tomorrow, I mean in the very near future. Because all those reports are going to be filed on September 1.
Yeah,
But they'll have to be analyzed, so you're looking at
That's why
probably
October.
December.
That's why
Yeah.
October.
Okay. So, and agreed. And as I said, hopefully it won't just be, hopefully it'll be granular versus just polygons. But we'll see what the final mapping is. But the bottom line is, you'll be able to type in your address. And actually what you can also see on this map, there was an example you had where we had both Breezeline and APB. I forgot what the name was on that, Glenn? Where there was duplication of APB and Breezeline for the same address. You have a choice, in other words.
Which is great.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It just means you have a choice, which hopefully helps with competition and lowering the price. Okay, but that's not going to be the whole county, but it will be some select areas. So you'll be able to tell
Well, it won't
that.
affect the price, but at least it certainly keeps people honest to make sure there's good service.
Yeah, well, I'm the eternal optimist, Nick.
Gary, can you just clarify, please, the map that you've put up? My understanding is that it does not include the new construction, is that correct?
Correct.
Thanks.
This was done, the way that these proposals work, it's a snapshot. Okay, at a certain point, this is what our contract was based on, with APB or Breezeline or whoever we dealt with. There was a certain point in time we said, this is what's needed, okay, and this is what we're going to cover. Now, the caveat is, if you call these guys and they're running by you, they're going to make the drop. And that's why we say, particularly with APB, let them know. Call, and same thing in the Breezeline areas, call them and say, can you cover me? You know, it's not a perfect world, but it gives you an idea of where the projects are. Go ahead.
So this map doesn't show existing coverage, does it?
You know, no, that's what the state one is supposed to show. And one of the problems is these companies do not want to share their data of where they are. Because of the proposals, we have exactly what they've claimed they're going to cover. So that's why we have actually very granular down to the home. And it's a difficulty, and then you get these general polygons, and your question earlier today, this woman in Windmill Point, by the state map, she's covered by
Yep.
Breeze Lane.
Yep.
Okay, but in reality, it's not the case.
Yep.
So, I don't know how to address that.
Well, anyway, I appreciate Nicholas talking to Bernie
This
about
is the
that
way-
one.
the way
But
I
she's a
want it.
senior citizen and by herself. So we'll see what Breeze Line maybe
Yeah,
can do
because I
for her.
looked it up on the state one, and it's covered.
Anything else on
I
that, Gary?
swear there's
Huh?
cable that runs
I'm
on
sorry?
Coxsackie. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable to go ahead and put these two links up there and just state, this is our project one, and then this is what the state has said. Eventually, these project ones should be incorporated into
Right.
that state one. When that happens, we take this down, just say, here's the state, and it's a guideline of,
Guideline. Like Cherie said, it's going to get better and better.
yeah.
Okay. Next, we have the middle mile deployment update.
So I just thought you might find it of interest. We've talked a little bit about this in the context of other issues that have come up, but the paperwork's been filed with the State Corporation Commission. Dominion has said it has a high degree of confidence that the majority of the Northern Neck project for the initial counties would be completed by the end of 2022. So they could bleed over into 2023 for King William and Lancaster. But the entire pleading that they've submitted to the state has a strong indication that it will be completed even with the additional miles. It went from 217 to 221.9 miles. In Lancaster specifically, they're going to install 144 ADSS fiber along the trunk line route for approximately 20.9 miles throughout Lancaster County, and 72 fiber along the various lateral for 46.2 miles in Lancaster alone. And they're estimating a cost for the Northern Neck project of $43.9 million, but 32 million of that is devoted to allocating for rural broadband costs. So it's moving along, and it's moving faster than originally projected. And for the entire Northern Neck, they're saying approximately 12,127 locations that are currently unserved will be served. So I think it's all good news. And by September 9th, this Dominion project and the funding should be addressed by the state, and there shouldn't be anything holding it back other than supply chain, weather, and labor.
I know, it's amazing.
Didn't
People are
you just say all
competing
of it?
for the labor. Yeah.
Well, and to just a note on that, the labor is coming in from all over the country because we had a Dominion subcontractor out interested in taking measurements of the poles, and they were from the West Coast.
Wow.
One was from Michigan. So they're coming in from all over. They're saying they've been here 2 months, they said.
Gee.
So Dominion's moving, right?
Yeah, Spanish mackerel are running right now, so.
They want the
The
fishing.
fishermen are coming down.
Depends on the fish. Keep that fish swimming.
Okay, thanks, Gary. And thanks, Cherie. Well, that's all from the formal part of the agenda. We need a presenter. You're out of the country, I assume. Yeah, I don't even talk to you about being a presenter anymore. You're not here.
No?
25 August. Have any volunteers, Kevin? You can't do it, that's fine. I'm here.
I'm
I
not,
think I could,
like, this whole month, like.
Oh, it's for you, oh, forget it for
Yeah.
you. I know, the schools. I'm sorry, Kevin, you're right. You've got full plat.
I'm in New York.
I gotta make
What
that
about
all
you,
the
Michelle?
citizens happy.
What about you, Michelle? I'm sorry, cut you
Yeah,
off.
I can do it, the 25th, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I can do it.
okay. So we got Michelle.
I need your report by the 18th.
Yes, sir.
Did you
Hey,
hear
I
that
can't-
little birdie?
That's next Thursday.
Proven.
Yeah, next Thursday. All right, I'll send you a note.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, yes, I saw.
Okay, anything else not covered? Anybody has